AJ lived right above us. So they used to spend the night. Like I said, he was a co-manager. So we, it was just a lot of stuff. So everybody was there. And I ended up going solo. To make a long story short, I ended up getting 2 deals on the table, one with Warner and one with Sony. I got into a car accident, which left me drinking from a straw for 6 months.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Indie Unplugged. I am your host, B. Vaughn. Today, in our interview segment, we have an amazing guest. Let me take a moment to welcome her to the Indie Unplugged. So, y'all know how I do. I like to give people their flowers, right? So, Butta B Rocka is a highly versatile and accomplished figure in the entertainment industry, serving as an executive film director, producer, director, screenwriter, SAG-eligible actress, and internationally chart-topping recording artist and songwriter. As the CEO and founder of BBR Media Group, Butta has been a driving force behind multiple creative projects, including her feature film, Finding the Perfect Guy. Butta is also a two-time best-selling author with titles like Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying, and Adventures in Butta Land. She's a playwright, editor-in-chief of Defiant One's teen magazine, and the host of the internationally syndicated talk show, the Transparency Talk Podcast. Butta is not only a creative force, but also a dedicated philanthropist as the founder of the Artists Rock the Mic Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization focused on supporting homeless college students through the arts. Her accolades include the 2023 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, the Female Artist of the Year Award at the Black I Am Awards, and so many more. With a career that spans the globe, from singing for royal families to sharing stages with industry giants, Butta B Rocka is truly a one-stop shop of talent and inspiration. So, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Butta B Rocka. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
This was a great introduction.
Great introduction. Like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I like to make sure that people are giving their, well, I heard somebody say one time that they don't like to give flowers because you only give flowers to dead people.
Mm,
And I was like, no, not really. I mean, we give flowers all the time, right? Like,
right.
give flowers to my wife. We give flowers to teens, give flowers to their prom dates, right? No, I think flowers is a symbolic, it's symbolism of gratitude. It's a symbolism of achievement, right? It's a symbolism of endearment. So, I don't know. I like giving flowers. I like that phrase, giving flowers. So
I like receiving flowers.
yeah. So there you go. Right? Giving flowers and receiving flowers.
Yeah.
So, but welcome to the Indie Unplugged.
Thank you. Thank you. Place is amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of, I would tell everybody, it costs a lot of money.
I can see that.
Oh my goodness. But it's been years. It's actually been years in the making, though. That's the thing. My family knows because I am a I don't know if I call it OCD. I just don't like things being the same way all the time. So at first, when we started this whole thing, we were upstairs in one of our larger rooms, and then I went into a different room. Then I came downstairs and went back upstairs, and now I'm back downstairs again. So it's, who knows? But I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else because I got cameras actually mounted to the wall.
Right.
Yes, I don't foresee myself moving this setup again.
Gotcha.
So,
well, it's lovely.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. So let's talk all things Butta B Rocka.
Okay, that's a lot to talk about.
All right. Hey, I know. I know. And I only so when I come up with my list of questions, I only come up with 10, right? Because 10 usually is a good amount. But there's so much more. I was like, okay, I still got to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I can't put this in here because we're going to run out of time, right? So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Kind of give us the journey. Kind of give us how you got started, and kind of where you are today.
At the age of 4.
No, actually. So what's it's so surprising you say that, because the gentleman I had here yesterday, that's when he started, was at the age of 4.
Yeah, I did. I actually started at the age of 4 as
Nice.
well. I saw Diana Ross on TV and saw her, just commanding the stage and everything. And I ran upstairs, got my little boa, had on my little dress, got my wooden spoon, and I was singing. And I knew then that that's what I wanted to do with my life. And I started taking it serious at the age of 11. Started doing a lot of talent shows. We lived in Tampa, Florida at the time. And first we was getting beat. When you're brand new, you got to learn. You got to get those stepping stones and everything. And from there, we started winning. I started coming up to Atlanta, working with Bobby Brown's camp. Usher had just got his record deal. We was working. We had the same co-manager. My mom was our manager, and AJ Alexander was our co-manager. So we started doing all the rehearsals with Usher. I mean, it was just a lot of different things. But I would say I started like by the age 13. That's when I started getting paid. So that's when I say I entered into the industry.
Right.
Right. So yeah, it was a journey, but an amazing journey.
So what in that story makes it amazing?
I think I came from the time of artist development, you know, and they don't really have that as much, nowadays with some of the performers and everything. But your every move, from your dance routines, your stamina, everything. We used to have to run up and down the hill, singing and dancing. And I didn't understand it at age 11 and 12 and 13. And, you didn't understand it. But now you look at Usher, he's able to do all these major shows. You look at myself, I'm able to do all these major shows and stay on stage for a long periods of time, having that stamina, having that discipline and stuff like that. So, those types of things are amazing.
I think that's something that's very pivotal in a career of an artist, is the ability to be developed, right? I am a huge fan of Motown because I love the model that Berry Gordy had for Motown, right? And so, I mean, now you can see that model being used in K-pop, but it was very artist development driven.
Yes.
It's like every artist that came out of Motown, they went through a very rigorous process.
Yes.
And I think that is something, as you stated, you don't see today. But why do you think it's something that we don't see today?
I don't know. It's more fast track now. It a lot of I don't want to. A lot of it is not based off of. It's based off of your appearance nowadays. It's just a lot different from back in the day. Back in the day, you really had to be able to really bring it on that stage. So it's just different.
It's just it is just different today. Yeah, I think when I look at the landscape, I don't really see that refinement, that development from an artist perspective. And you can tell, right? You can tell from when you see people who are on stage performing. You can see, right? Because a lot of times people don't really have that stage presence that they used to have. I mean, like, I don't even think now. I can't say Chris Brown does, because
Yeah, he does.
I haven't seen his show, but I've seen clips and he puts on them.
Yeah.
He's out there dancing, right? So all the artists back in the day, they used to dance. Now the people just stand around and just walk around,
side to
side, right? It's completely different. And I think that had, from my opinion, has diminished the quality of show performance. So if I'm going to go to a show, I want to see you moving. I want to see you dancing. I want to see the routines. I'm here to be entertained.
You want to see a concert?
I want to see a concert.
Yeah.
I'm not here to just watch you sing, because I can just go listen to your album,
or I can just look on YouTube.
Right.
Right.
I want to see a performance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think that's missing. Missing a lot. Okay. So age of 4, saw Diana Ross, right, singing. You were like, hey, that's I want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, kind of talk about that trajectory. I know you mentioned, okay, you're in Florida, and what was that environment like in Florida, and how did that environment kind of groom you to to really expand your artistry?
Absolutely. Well, I was in a group called NOLT, None Other Like This, and it was with me and my cousins and everything. And I mean, it was really cool because it seemed like we was surrounded by so many different artists that have blown up, now. And you would go to these talent shows. I mean, you had dancers, you had singers, and like we just talked about, I mean, back then you really had artist development. So, I mean, every dance move was concise and, it was
Hmm.
together, the harmonies were tight, those types of things. And so that was like your playground of where you learned, your skills. You figured out, how to command the stage. You could look at the
Mm,
stage, you could look at the crowd, right? Especially when you're performing live with a band. You could look at the crowd and you know where you're ready to go with your songs. You know if you need to stay there because that's that sweet spot. You
hmm.
know if you need to move on because they ain't feeling that area. You know, it's just a lot of different things. But back in those days, those were artists. I mean, it was like a playground for artists to just get in there and you see what other people are doing, and that encourages you and makes you fight even harder. To get your stuff together. So it
Hmm.
was it was really cool.
It was
I didn't understand it at the time though. I ain't like it. I ain't like having to do all of those extra. I ain't like having to exercise. So what do we got exercise for? What I'm trying to sing,
I'm trying to sing. I'm
right,
not a physical fitness person.
right,
Like this ain't PT.
right,
I just want to sing.
right. Why am I running up this hill singing? Like, I'm out of breath.
Hmm.
That type of stuff. Why am I doing push-ups? Why am I doing jump jacks? Like it didn't make sense, but it made sense now.
Hmm. Hmm. I definitely would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. So now, right, you're going through that developmental process.
Hmm.
You're running up hills and jumping jacks and exercising and uh, really doing the things that, right. And I think that's the thing is putting in the hard work now so that you can reap the benefits later,
Yeah.
right? And so now you're able to perform for long periods of time. You got the right type of stamina. You got the development process. And so now going through that particular phase, um, kind of talk about what that journey has been up to this particular point. So you have been involved in a lot of different endeavors,
Mhm.
a lot of different philanthropic type of things, which we'll get into. Right? I got a bunch of questions about a bunch of different things, and I'm very interested in one of them very specifically. Uh, so, kind of talk about um, that trajectory and what happened after all of that. After you went through that development process, um, what happened? What happened next for you?
Right. So what happened next for me is we moved to Atlanta because we was performing so much. We was working out and doing so many shows with Usher. Usher had just got his record deal. So he was brand new, Comedy to Mac Usher.
Uh,
This that Usher.
yeah,
Right.
it's the My Way Usher.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The My Way
So this
Usher.
is the young Usher. And we was just growing and everything. Eventually I ended up going solo. When you move to a big city like Atlanta, and we stayed at Executive Village, which I mean when I say from TLC, A Few Good Men, Silk, I mean when I say everybody was at
Mm,
Executive Village, everybody. Usher, AJ lived right above us. So they used to spend the night, like I said, he was a co-manager. So we, just it was just a lot of stuff. So everybody was there, and I ended up going solo. To make a long story short, I ended up getting two deals on the table, one with Warner and one with Sony. I got into a car accident, which left me drinking from a straw for
mm,
6 months. I was headed to the attorney's office, Vernon Slaughter, who used to be with Cat Smith and Cohen. And I got into my car accident, and we was on the second offers. So um, because I ended up having to have surgery through my mouth, stitches, all this type of stuff, and drinking from the straw, it took me a whole year to come back out. And when I came
mm,
back out, the deals were no longer on the table. You had one company had revamped, another company had just signed somebody that was a female, and then the third company that was interested in me, um, they actually literally told me I was too old, and I'm 18 at this time. And
wow.
I remember thinking, oh my God, because this is all I've known. This is all I've ever wanted to do, that type of stuff. It was actually Akon that was like, look, you got to get back out there. So I go back out there and then get my feelings hurt. They tell me I'm too
Mm,
old. But at that time, they had just started signing the Britney Spears, the 12 and 13-year-old. So that was like the phase.
right.
And I'm 18, you're out, And so from there, I started going into the studio doing backgrounds. I was doing backgrounds for TLC. I did stuff on the group Black and Lil Zane, his single None Tonight, and all this
Mm,
type of stuff. And that was cool. And one day I was at the studio, at the studio, and there was a guitar player that said that, hey man, I'm also an artist, and he left his cassette tape. That's how you know I'm dating myself. He left his
cassette tapes, right?
cassette
Yeah.
tape. And when he left, they laughed at him and they threw the cassette tape away. And they said people need to stay in their lanes. And it was then that I was like, okay,
Oh.
if I stay, and nothing is wrong with doing backgrounds, nothing at all. But I'm like, if I stay right here, this is how y'all only gonna look at me.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I had spoke to AJ, and he was like, you need to put your own band together and you need to get out there. So I put my band together. I created my first album. I didn't know how to do any of it because now I don't have no background, no label behind me.
Mm,
I'm straight indie. And so I put the album, I did my album, put together a band, because he always believed in live, performances
mm,
and, give a show, go grand. And so I did that. I had my album release party. Chloe and Haley opened up my show.
wow.
It was really cool, especially seeing
Yeah, seeing
how
how
big.
seeing where they are
Yeah,
today.
yeah. So they opened up my show. It was an amazing experience. The next show I did was with CSAC. At that time, Paul Morton. He wasn't big at that time,
Mm,
but he was on the show with me and some other people. And from the CSAC show, I did Wednesday Wind Down, and that was in front of 5,000 people. That was my biggest show at that time,
mm,
in front of 5,000 people. And knowing that I was going to be in front of so many people, I had from the dancers to the backgrounds to horn section,
mm,
go big. You're on a big stage in the
mm,
middle of Centennial Park. You got to go big. So
right.
that's what happened. And then 10 minutes after I got off stage, I got an offer to go overseas to Africa. Now, I had gotten offers before, but this offer made more sense. The other offers wanted me to be gone for long periods of time,
Mm,
and have you perform 6 days out of the week, like some crazy contracts that I just didn't want to do. But Africa, it was like, hey, we fly you out to Africa. You're going to be gone for 3 months. You perform 4 days. The weekends you have off. We'll send you to other parts of Africa
mm-hmm.
on the weekend. You get 2 drivers. You get your own room. Like, it was just so many things. We
Wow.
bring a family member over. Everything's covered. So I'm like, this is a no brainer. And then
No
they said
brainer.
I could do some of my own material with the band that I was going over with. So I'm like, bet, that made
Mm-hmm.
sense for me. So from there, I mean, when I say just the doors just started opening, I ended up going over there twice to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. So I was there for 6 months. And you're meeting prince and ambassadors and all these different people. And one thing led to another. Hey, can you do this show here? Can you come to Dominican? Can you come to,
Mm,
Aruba? Can you come to Spain? So it just started, becoming like one of those, once somebody sees you, they book you for something else. And then I got an offer to do cruise lines as a guest entertainer. And at first I wasn't interested. Because I thought it was a crew and I was gonna have to stay at the bottom of the ship and stuff like that. And they was like, no, a guest entertainer, you come out for a week, you do 2 45 minutes in the main theater, the dinner time frames, the
mm-hmm.
6 and 8 o'clock time. And the rest of the time you kiss babies, taking pictures. I said, oh, I could do that. And then go home. So I mean, it just led to so many things.
Mm,
I started cruising, doing Holland America, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, the Seabourn. And when I say I went to so many places, and I did that for a good 9, 10 years, um, over 40 something cruises and stuff.
Wow.
So it was just a lot of stuff happening and just so many doors. And even when I was home, I'm doing land shows and private events and, stuff like that. So it just became just like this golden little tour, you know.
Wow.
I started having major artists that were my friends asking me, "How are you getting on so many tours?" Yeah.
Right. How can so many tours? That's the thing. So okay. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
Were you fulfilled?
Yes. Yes and no. I always still felt like there was more, as you
Mm.
once you when you get there and you see the crowds and you're like, and I don't want to sound like I don't appreciate anything that I've accomplished and
Mhm.
anything that I've done because I know that I have been blessed, especially as an indie artist, to see and do and work with so many big people, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I always felt like and still feel like there's more in me. So yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like I got so much more to give. So
Mhm. It ain't over.
no,
By
like I feel
by
like I'm
far.
just getting started,
Mm.
which is the crazy thing because I've accomplished a lot. I mean, I've been able to work with so many amazing people, from Janet to Kanye to Akon, Usher, Zach Brown, Nas on BET, Hip Hop Awards. I've done a lot of
Dang.
stuff, but I feel like I've just touched the surface.
Mm. That's good.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked that question is, because sometimes we see that there's a certain trajectory that we we want to take,
Mhm.
and sometimes it doesn't turn out to be that way,
Oh my goodness.
right? And so it shifts, and we go, this isn't what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I expected it, to be a signed artist with Sony or Warner, and kind of, going that trajectory and that journey, but it took a different path for you, and that's why I asked the question,
Yeah.
um, from a fulfillment perspective, to say, well, it didn't turn out the way that you thought, but it still turned out to be an amazing journey.
An amazing journey. I think I've become the pivotal woman. I had to learn because I'm a Taurus. So Taurus is, we're
Oh yeah, you
focused,
focus and determined. Yeah.
we're determined. We're like, if I see it, I'm getting it.
Hmm.
And um sometimes God for me personally, he has to push me. He literally has to push me out the way to make me go a different route, at
Mm.
times. So, that car accident was one pivoting moment, right? Then I had another pivoting moment, 2019. I had been touring since 2007, full time,
Wow.
right? And 2019, I was getting ready to go to Qatar. I was at rehearsal here in Atlanta. I ended up falling, torn meniscus, torn ACL, dislocated my shoulder. Right. But I still had to go to Vegas. I still had to go to LA to perform with Wesley Snipes, Les Brown, Will Ferrell, all these people. I still
Hmm.
made that. I still had to go to
Wow.
Chile and Mexico. By the time I came back from Chile, which was my last tour, by the time I came back from there, my knee was completely torn. It went from a partial tear, which would have only been 6 weeks recovery,
Hmm.
to a full tear, which was a year.
Wow.
Right. So that was another pivoting moment for me because I didn't have no choice but to sit down. I had to lay down. It's like, do not fast go, lay down, figure out your life. And so
Mm.
it was during that time. As a matter of fact, what was so crazy is because they couldn't tell off the MRI what was going on
Hmm.
with my knee. So I had to wake up to them telling me, yeah, yeah, it's gonna be a year. Imagine you going to sleep and you not knowing, is this gonna be 6 weeks? Is this gonna take a whole
Right.
year? And I woke up to them saying that to me. So I was just like in a little funk. As I was coming home, they couldn't even put crutches on me because my shoulder,
Hmm.
and so I ended up having to walk out of there with a walker. So I did
Mm.
3 months with a walker, 2 months with a cane, physical therapy 3 times a week for an entire year. It was actually Les Brown who called me on the phone when I had got home. And I was just about to listen to Joel Osteen because I said in my mind, okay, you can either sit here and be sad or you can figure out what your next moves are going to be.
Hmm.
And then he called and I thought that was so great. But he called And he said, I know this looks like a setback, but this is a setup for something greater. And I didn't
Mhm.
understand it. I cried and I went to sleep. And I mean, that fall has changed my life completely. I mean, it's pushed me into so many other avenues. I wrote a book, became an Amazon bestseller in 7 hours. Then my boys, we
Wait, hold
start.
up. Wait. We can't skip that. Amazon bestseller in 7 hours?
Bestseller and best new release. Yep.
7 hours.
Yep.
That's an achievement right there.
It
Because
was.
it doesn't happen that fast.
No. I mean, I don't think it
It
does. I
doesn't.
was like, "Holy crap," it's my
It doesn't.
first book, and, it was crazy, but yeah,
Mm.
um, so that happened, and then, I had been writing as a content writer on different magazines and everything about the music industry and stuff, and my boys wanted to start their own magazine and they was 18 and 17 at the time, and I'm like,
Mhm.
let's do it. So we had to learn that, and then their magazine, Defiant One's Teen Magazine, we started having major actors and artists contacting them. They always show, every magazine has a major person on the front,
Mhm.
but the content that they have inside is not just, let's just big up all of these major people. We want to talk about the health and wellness of teens and young adults.
Mm.
We're going to talk about, financial literacy for teens
Mhm.
and young adults. So, it came with a lot of substance. So it blew up really fast and we
Mhm.
didn't expect that. Um, I started my podcast. Well, let me go back. So March of 2020, I got released. No, April of 2020, I got released to go on tour. So I was going to head back on tour over to Africa. And March of 2020 is when COVID
COVID
hit,
hit. Oh,
right?
yeah.
So here I am stuck
Like
again,
again.
right, for another year, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? So I started my podcast. Just everybody was going online doing podcasts and talking on. That
Right.
was the only way we could communicate. So I started that, and initially I was just talking to a lot of my friends that were indie artists and national recording artists and stuff like that. And make a long story short, my podcast ended up getting picked up by 6 syndicated stations overseas. So I'm in Nigeria,
Mm.
Africa, I'm in London, Italy, Japan, Canada. Then I got picked up on iHeart. I'm now on Roku. I'm on a couple of other stations. Like it
Mhm.
just turned into its own thing. I had wrote a play before, and I always said I had 6 national recording artists in my play, and I always said I wanted to write my own film. And so I dove head first, like it's that
She
Taurus in
dove
me.
head first.
It's
Head
that
first.
Taurus. So it's just been an amazing, like unexpected
Mhm.
twists and turns and pivots and you know things.
Mhm. So let's dive into some of those details.
Okay.
That's an amazing journey, right? And every, of course, it has its ebbs and flows, its ups and downs that everybody experiences. I
Right.
mean, you're going to experience the highs of your career, and sometimes you're going to experience the lows of your career, and it really determines how you're going to deal with the lows,
Right.
right? And I was going to ask you because, but you already answered it. How did you deal with, that injury mentally, right?
Yeah.
And because that's a big part is that sometimes injuries and situations like that can completely derail a person, and they're like, okay, you know what, maybe this is I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm going to figure out something else, and they just go a completely
Yeah.
different way.
I mean, that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, to the degree. I mean, you really do go into a different headspace.
Hmm.
I had 2 kids that was 11th grade and 12th grade, and now I'm not working. And all I've ever have been doing for years since 2007 is touring full
Hmm.
time. And you don't, when you're indie, you don't get no paid time off, sick
Hmm.
leave. You
You
don't
don't
get
get any
none
of
of that.
that.
So, I mean, the mental of what I was going through was like, oh my God. And then I'm unable to walk, and then I can't even hold a cell phone in my hand, and I can't do the simple things like putting my hand in my pocket. Like it
Mm.
was a lot, mentally to go through. I was just determined, and my husband, he was determined to help me stay focused and help me stay positive. So we started recording my journey and figured, if someone saw me doing it, it would help them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know, it was deep. It was definitely deep. I had to
Um,
figure it out.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I am sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a very traumatic
it
experience,
was.
and now you have to figure out, how do I cope with this? It's something that's impacting, the family.
Hmm.
It's impacting my career, uh, and so now you got to like, how do I navigate this effectively
Yeah,
so that when I come out of it, I'm still in the right space,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that can take a toll on a person. Okay, so I do want to go back
Okay,
because there was a lot. That's a lot that's in there.
okay.
I've never heard of this executive village thing.
Oh man, anybody from back in the day? It was over near Roswell Road. They tore it down, but um, it also towards right when I had moved from there, they opened it up to the Art Institute used to be there as
Ah,
well.
okay.
So then it became like a dorm. You go outside and you see, and it made sense. You go outside and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you see people singing, you see dancers out there doing, like, it was just cool. Executive Village was the place.
Executive village, right?
Executive Village.
It's like a boarding house or room or dorm for
Creatives.
creatives.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even think they realized it at the time. It was like one of those. It was kind of like one of those extended stay that already had like
Mm-hmm.
the furniture and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where LaFace housed all his people. Not all of the people, but most of their people. We was there. Like,
Yeah, that sounds really
it
cool.
was great.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I can imagine the what's the right word? I want to the word isn't competition, but it probably is competition that stems from that, right? I mean, you're seeing so many people. I mean, I guess kind of like Devontae kind of had the same type of process when he started doing the things that he was doing with Timbaland and Missy
Mm-hmm.
and Genuine and all those groups, right? They all lived in like a certain place together.
Yep.
So it kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is the creative house.
It really
Um,
was the creative house,
mm-hmm.
and the only person that fell off the creative house was me. Because I got injured.
Because you got injured.
Right. And so that in
Wow.
itself was like, you see your friends that you grew up with, the Ushers, the Akons, the
Mm-hmm.
Zanes, I mean Lil Zane, who's now Zane, and you see everybody just going shoom, going up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden you're like stagnant. And then that even messes with you mentally because
Yeah.
you're like, okay, what's going on? Why am I not where they are? And I was projected to be, on the same levels, type thing. And so that messes with you. And then what even messed with me even more, if I'm being transparent, is when you finally do become better,
Mm-hmm.
um, and their careers have taken off, and now they got all these extra people in their ears, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
so they're seeing you as they sis, and but they're not seeing you as the same,
Mm-hmm.
like when y'all came up. So that was a little different,
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, okay, I used to do all of this stuff with you. Now I'm not doing nothing.
Yeah.
Not that you got to give me a
Of
handout.
course.
You
Yeah.
don't have to
Yeah.
give me a handout, but let's keep it like it was. We used to rock. So
Mm.
that was you know, that was mentally hard for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's I would say that's unfortunate. Yeah, I know. I understand relationships change.
Hmm.
People evolve. Things move differently, um, and I find that to be the case in a lot of different situations. I had a friend who called me one day, and he was like, "Did I ever tell you that I grew up with Akon?" I was like, "No, you didn't." He was like, "Yeah, Akon's from St. Louis," and I was like, "No, he's not. He's from like Africa or someplace." No, he's like, "No, bro, he grew up right here, like right here in St. Louis." But I was like, "Well, I didn't know that." Right? 'Cause, I mean, we're all from St. Louis. And I'm like, I'm really from Virginia, but
Right.
I was like, I did not know that. But and their relation, and the reason why I bring that up because their relationship changed,
Hmm.
right? They grew up together. I mean, were best friends, and
Hmm.
and as Akon moved on, and he eventually moved, and they didn't keep in communication the way that they did, and
Right.
it just relationships just change over time.
Yeah, relationship
Um,
definitely changed. We used to go to the Thanksgiving dinners, and and my kids are, well, his mom, Kane, is my kid's grandma. Like
Yeah.
we all the family, and still to this day we still are. But
Mm-hmm.
the dynamics have changed. You
Mm-hmm.
know, a
Right.
little bit,
A little bit,
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit.
I still speak to
But
people, but it's changed.
I mean, even within that, there are still things that you've done that are remarkable.
Mhm.
And so, in that story that you were telling of your journey, there's a couple of things in there that I kind of want to bring out. Okay, so as you mentioned, right, 2-time Amazon bestseller in 7 hours. It does not happen that fast, right? I have 2 authors in my family. It doesn't happen that fast. To just right. So the first book was Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying,
Mhm.
right? So kind of talk, what motivated you to write that book? Was it because of the experiences that you were going through?
Mhm.
I'll let you explain the concept behind that story.
What's so crazy is I was in Miami performing at this yacht. There's this guy, Bill, I forgot his last name. He's billionaire. Like seriously. Yeah,
Billionaire.
he's this billionaire, and we was at this big yacht and I was performing, and he was talking to everyone, and he said, "Tell your story."
Mm,
And other people had said, "You should write a book. You should write a book." And it didn't resonate, but it seemed like on that day, in that hour, it felt like he was only talking to me,
mm-hmm.
type of situation. And and so what happened is I ended up going to Hawaii on a cruise, and we ended up, there was a big storm, so we ended up having to stay for an additional 5 days. So for 4 days I locked myself in a room and wrote the book. And
In 5 days.
mhm, 4 days I wrote it.
Wow.
In 4 days I wrote it. But I was there for 5 days extra, and I just locked in, and I didn't know where to start. So I just started from the beginning, and I was writing it on my phone. And so um, you know, thankfully, with digital, you can go back and put stuff in front of it or take stuff in
That's
the
right.
back. So I mean, that's just how I started doing it and everything. But by the time I got off that ship, the book was written and everything. But that was the process. Um, he told me to write my story, and I didn't think nobody was going to want to hear it. But people do want to hear the ups and downs of everybody.
They do.
And so I started talking about my journey within the music industry. And it's a memoir slash self-help.
Mm, hmm. What do you hope readers take away from that book?
They will absolutely take away that it doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your race, it doesn't matter any of that. If you have a dream that you want to achieve, you can't be afraid to step out there.
Mm,
You know, I although I um, had fear, I have more fear of failing than anything, and so um, for me, it's like you got to face it so that you can
hmm.
get past it. You know
Right.
what I mean? And I feel like even if I don't accomplish the full goal, I'm failing forward. And each step
Mm,
I'm taking, it's a step. You know what I mean?
hmm.
Like people don't take steps. People will let fear completely stop them in their tracks, and they
Hmm.
they won't even do anything. Well, I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know how to do it. And then that's the end of the
Hmm.
dream. But I believe that if God gives you a dream, that's like the blueprint for me. That's like oh,
Hmm.
okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. All right, bet. And so I
Yeah.
just I just see that as, that stepping stone for me, and I just go for it. And sometimes I don't know what I'm supposed to do, how to start. YouTube University has been a big help. Getting a mentor. I
Hmm.
always find people that are doing what I want to do. I study them, you know, and see, what they're doing, that I can take away from and incorporate into my own life. If I don't like it, then that's not, something that I want to do. But get a mentor, and just go for it.
Yeah.
So the book will definitely encourage you to do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wrote a book in 4 days. That's
I mean, I still had to go home and get the
Yeah, I know.
graphics, and
Yeah, yeah.
and then had to go through it,
Edited
edit
and
it, and, make
editor
sure
and
that my right.
right. Yeah. No, but I'm still saying that conceptually writing the whole thing down in 4 days.
Yeah.
And of course you got to go back and then you got to read it and make sure it's edited properly, make sure it's sequenced the way that,
Right.
you needed to tell the story that you wanted to convey. And to do all that stuff right. Like I said, I have 2 writers in my house.
Mhm.
So I understand what they go through. I see
Right.
them
Right.
right all the time. Right. There's this thing that they go through. It's called NaNoWriMo. Right. It's National Authors. They know better than I do because I don't participate in it. And they have to write a certain amount of words within a month time frame, and right. So I understand the concept, and it is a journey
Mm-hmm.
to go through that process. But that's amazing that you have the tenacity, the discipline to sit and to complete that body of work and to then put that out for the purposes of people identifying with it and taking away the message of, you know what, no matter how old you are, and I think that's true, right? I think that's no matter how old you are, there are still opportunities that are available
Yep.
to you, right? So we did a podcast episode on Monday, and my co-host, that was his theme. He was like, and that's pretty much how he kicked it off. He was like, it don't matter how old you are,
Yeah.
right? And it's kind of like he was talking to me. He was like, I don't care if you're 49 and you want to be a singer or a rapper, go do it. I'm like, you talking to me? Is that what you're
Right.
saying? You're saying this
Right.
to me, right? He was like, just get out there and do it. You don't let anybody else tell you that you can't do something because you're too old. And we went into the whole conversation about Hit Boy's dad and how Hit Boy's dad is a rapper. I'm like, what? And yeah, he's like, yeah, he has songs with like The Game and all these other famous. I'm like, what? Okay, but it doesn't really matter. What the stigma that people put on age, right? Because I told him, I said we live in a very we practice ageism
Yeah.
in black music, right? And if you're like they told you, you're 18, you're too
You're
old.
too old.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
right? How can you be too old at 18,
Right.
right? Because they're like, oh, we need to get them younger now, right? By the time you're 18 until maybe 23, 24, your career is over after that.
Right.
And that's how they saw you. After that age, there's nothing else we can
Yeah.
do for you because it's a young person's, game is, I guess is the phrase they use. But you found amazing success, right? Not only just with the book Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying, but also the play that you wrote called I Cheated, So What? It's like, oh, I cheated, so what? What you gonna do
What
about
you
it,
gonna
right?
do?
What you gonna do? So kind of talk about that. You said you had 6 um, people that were in your play, but kind of just talk about where that came from, and
Yeah.
I'm
So
interested.
I Cheated So What was based off of one of my songs called The Storm. And I was in another play and I was talking to the director and I told him I always wanted to write a play. And I sent him my song and I sent him some songs,
Mhm.
several songs. And he was like, this is a play by itself. And I said, yeah, I've always wanted to write one. I just don't know how to. And he was like, well, I'll write it for you. And I said, well, I don't need you to write it for me, but we can write it together. Because if I can understand it,
Mhm.
oh, it's game on.
Mhm.
That's just the way I am. So once I understood the concept, because as writing, because I'm a songwriter, writing, when you write a song right now, it's in first person or third person, right?
Right.
But when you are writing a play or writing a book, not a book, writing a film, it's many conversations
Mhm.
happening all at the same time. And so once I understood that concept, I'm like, okay. But even as you're writing, and having multiple people, you still got to let it breathe
Mm.
so that they're not overlapping each other. So once I understood that, it was like, okay, cool. So then, so he wrote the first half and then I wrote the second half and everything. And we both, a lot of things are built on relationships. So we called people that we knew
Mhm.
for the most part, to be in the film. I mean, in getting them crossed,
Oh, we're gonna
to
talk about
be in
that
the
film though.
play,
We
right?
talking about that film.
Right. We called different people to be in the play. We had Christopher Williams.
Don't wake me. Yeah, Christopher. Hey, that was
Right.
okay. Christopher Williams. Okay,
Right.
I see you.
Right. We had Christopher Williams, Demita
Mm-hmm.
Haddon, Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
We had Mike Merrill, who's doing some amazing things right now. I'm super excited for him because that was his first play. And
Wow.
now he did the new edition, BMF. He's on
Mm-hmm.
Blackhampton. He's doing great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super proud. We had Robert Curry from Day 26, Rico Barrino, which is
Mm-hmm.
Fantasia's brother. We had Jessica Reedy, but I think it was either her, she had a family member pass the day before the event. So we had to completely take her part out the day before.
Wow.
But it was amazing to see such talent on that stage, and everybody from the background, every background person that I had were all singers. And so yeah, the rehearsals was sick.
Oh,
I mean,
I bet.
sick. Yeah, it was really it was really cool and everything. And they wanted to take it on the road for 6 months.
Mm.
But with me being an international recording artist, all of the band plays behind major artists. All of the national recording artists got tours of their own. It was impossible to get us to be able to do 6 months with the same people.
Mm-hmm.
And um the promoter was like, well, it's going to be hard to sell in that city if you don't have that person that's on that flyer. That causes problems.
Right.
So we set that down. And because the part for me was everybody did so good that I can't just write you out just because I want to be able to take it on the road, because like
Right.
you did an amazing job, like seriously. So I set that down for a little while, and then I went back touring.
But still, that's an accomplishment right there, though. To have. So how many shows did you do? Was it? I'm sure you said it was just in one location.
Yeah, we did the Clayton County Performing Arts Center. The place held 1,000. We had about 760 something people that came. What was really crazy for me is I was told that Atlanta is like one of those last minute places. Like, so people don't go get, because there's so many different events, people don't just go get tickets months in advance unless it's some big concert and stuff, right? So I'm freaking out because the day of, we only had 100 tickets sold online, right?
Yeah.
And
sounds like Atlanta.
Right. And then when the curtain opened and you now have 700 plus people. And I'm like, holy cow, where did all these people come from? But I personally was freaking out. And Donald, he was like, oh, this is normal. Where?
Like Atlanta.
My nerves was shot.
Right. Because other places they buy tickets in advance,
Yeah,
right? Oh, the
yeah.
show is coming? Cool. I'm gonna buy tickets, 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
No, Atlanta's like, oh, this is happening tonight. I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was like one of those
600 people just decided they're gonna go.
Right. So you open it up to 700 something people, and you're like, holy cow! But it was really great. But that's we got the offer right after that, but we couldn't get that contract together because I literally had to go like in 2 weeks, and other people had stuff, so we set it down. But we always said we're gonna come back to it. Just haven't had a chance yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Because life is busy. Everybody's busy.
Everybody's busy.
Everybody's busy lifing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that film, Finding the Perfect Guy.
Yes.
Right. So what was the motivation behind that? I mean, so I am a camera guy. I got lights, cameras, all types of stuff, right? I love cinematography and things like that. And I'm in the process, and I'm interested in everything else, but I'm very interested in this part because I'm in the process of crafting my own short film that I want to shoot, and I'm going to use all these cameras to do it. But kind of talk about finding the perfect guy. What was the motivation behind it in its trajectory?
So COVID had happened. I'd already set out for a whole year in 2019. Now it's 2020. I'm doing my book and promoting that, and started my podcast. So 2021 comes, it's still dead. You're not touring. They haven't opened up anything yet. And so I initially wanted to do some series, and I was just gonna put it on YouTube. So I wrote 13 episodes of this series. But then when I found out the price of having to get all of these series done, I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to condense this. So I ended up condensing it into a feature film, Finding the Perfect Guy. It's a romantic comedy. And I had a cast of 32. Everybody got paid. I hired a company to do the filming and everything. I executive wrote, produced, direct, starred in, and of course, I put my own music in my own film.
You know that. That's right. It's only the smart thing to do.
Right. And I was hands-on on in every process from the casting to everything. One of the things that I learned very hands-on, very firsthand was I initially tried to just put people that I knew based off of relationships, and I had to realize very quickly you can't do that.
Mm.
It needs to be based off the talent, um, and off the professionalism, of how people work. So, um, with the casting, I had someone who was over all of the casting, but I was very hands on with the
Hmm.
selection. We made everybody audition, and like I said, I had a cast of 32. Both of my sons are in the film, but they have been acting on TV since age 7.
Oh
So
wow.
that's the only reason why they got in there, because they
They already
actually,
had that
right, they
experience.
do have the
Right.
experience. They've done a lot of things. My husband's in the film. He is an actor before we had met,
Mm.
and everything. So, but other than that, everybody else had to audition. And yeah, it was really cool. My husband is a celebrity chef, so he made sure that all of the meals, we didn't just have,
Yeah, I
little
had
meals.
pizza and
Nah,
burgers.
nah, we
I
ate.
had
Yeah.
creme brulee and
Right.
some. Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. From breakfast all the way to dinner each time. And I believe, and I think this is me being an artist and being on the road and have worked with different plays and
Hmm.
worked on different films and different stuff. You treat people how you want to be treated,
Hmm.
right? And so I always make sure that, the ambiance is good, that you're comfortable. Um, I treat you how I want to come into a place and be treated, like
Right.
literally. So I tried to make sure that I treated everybody with respect and everything. And and I wrote everything, but I still wanted you to make it your own. I mean, don't they couldn't like go completely
I mean, you
off
can improv a
script,
little bit.
right? A little bit,
Right.
but yeah. So I made everybody feel extremely comfortable and everything. It was a lot of learning curves for me.
Mm.
With it being my first, I was doing all of the itinerary, sending all of that out. So having to learn how to do that.
Oh, you had to do all your call sheets and
I
all
did
that?
all of my
Oh
call sheets
nah.
myself. But
I'm
but
like,
they have
oh nah.
software for it. They have,
They do.
yeah.
They do.
So it made it very,
Studio Binder.
yeah, Studio
Is that
Binder.
what you use?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See,
Yeah.
Studio Binder.
Studio Binder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big help. I was doing
Hmm.
the storyboard. Like I did a lot, but I'm not mad at it because now I know how to articulate when I'm hiring someone else
Yes,
to
ma'am.
do the jobs. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
ma'am.
So I was very hands on with every single process of the film. The one thing that I didn't really know personally was how lights and stuff work, but your lights is very important in any shots, and I didn't know that.
Hmm.
But I hired the people, and they were supposed to know all of that
Yeah,
type of
yeah, yeah.
stuff,
The
and the
gaffers and the
sound,
grips and all that.
right?
Yeah.
The sound is a major part
Hmm.
of it. You know, you having the AC on. Who would have thought? And now when I look at films, you'll see I notice all the lights. Like there's so many lights in the background on,
Practicals, right?
right? That you didn't even think of, that I didn't think about at first.
Practical lights, motivated lighting.
Right.
Oh yeah, it
Right.
all.
So every time
Hmm.
I look at a film now, I'm looking at the continuity of it. I'm looking at all of these things that I never thought about
Yeah,
before when I would look at a film. I break everything down. I already know where
yeah.
the grid, for the most part, I know where the grid go with the film now, like, the whole 9 yard, but I love it.
Do you watch movies with your family?
Sometimes
Do you do that when you watch movies with them?
we all do it now because we're also
Oh
aware of
yeah,
different things now.
yeah. So I do that too when I watch movies with my
Yeah.
family, but they get tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh, they get so tired of it. They're like, I'm like, oh, look how they compose that shot.
Yep.
Oh, look at the blocking right here. Oh, that blocking is great. Like,
Yep.
how do they come up with that? Right now, so now one of my sons is also kind of adopting that same thing. He's like, oh, that transition was awesome.
Yep.
Oh, the way that they blocked that was great. Oh, look how the lighting is coming through. Or,
Yep.
or we'll notice mistakes and we'll go,
Oh yeah, you definitely notice
who
those too.
who did that?
Yeah.
Why they
Yeah.
do it that way?
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
they? Nah, that's not. Mm-mm. Right. And so we notice all types of things, and it's like in the beginning they were like, okay, look, we can't watch TV with you at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's a great skill set to
It
have
is.
because you have to now, as you indicated for yourself, you participate in all of those different roles. So now when you do this again, okay, I can leave this up to all the different people, but
Right.
I am very hands on in every part of the process. So they're not going to finagle you and go, well, it's because it's how we set up. You're going to go, no, because the lights need to be set up this way, and then the audio needs to be done this way.
Right.
And then, hey, cinematographer person, I need you to shoot it this way, and we need to block this way. We need to, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
I'm even listening to, when I'm looking at the films and stuff, I'm even listening to the music in the background because, that's first, my first love. So
Right.
I'm listening to what songs they have coming on and where they're coming in on in the project and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just completely in tune when when I'm looking at something now, like on a whole different level.
Me
And then
too.
it sparks other ideas for other projects for me, to write. So I always have a tape recorder by me. And in the middle of the night, I'm like, okay, make sure you put this and blah, blah, blah,
Right.
and then I have to put my ideas down and then go back and start writing. So I have like
Mhm.
7 more IPs right now. I'm actually about to shoot I'm actually about to shoot two projects coming up. One is going to be a short film and one feature film. And yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
stuff happening right now.
Yeah, yeah. So where do you go to look for like actors and actresses and talent?
Well, I had put my auditions on Actors Access and on, I want to say it was on Casting Network as
Okay.
well, and Backstage.
Backstage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I had it on all of those. And so when I put my audition out there, like I said, I had a cast of 32, but that was only the people we selected. You
Mm.
get so many people that
Mm.
audition. So I have a whole database. And now that I started my BBR Indie Films, I have even more people. So
Mhm.
I have an extensive database of people that I can pull from. Of course, I when I'm thinking of different roles and stuff like that, I think about the people that I've already seen or I've already worked with on some
Mhm.
level, even if it wasn't in my film, if it was on a play, or if I saw them, doing some work, I know what their levels are,
Mhm.
type of thing. So I might have them in mind, but even then, I'm still gonna make somebody
I'm trying to audition. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to audition, right? Um, I'm trying to audition. So that's why I asked, where these auditions
You
be?
can go to BBR Indie
Yeah, BBR
Films
Indie Films. I'm gonna go
dot
there.
com.
Y'all don't go. I'm gonna go
Yes,
because
please do.
I'm trying to limit the amount of people I'm trying to be an actor, right? Especially in a comedy. I've always wanted to be in a comedy,
Right.
right? Just I'm not a comedian, but I can do comedic stuff,
Yeah.
and I'll be in a comedy.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, I can't stand up and tell jokes.
Yeah.
That is
Me
not
neither.
a that is not a forte of mine.
Right.
I don't know how people do that. But being in a comedy, oh
Right.
man, that's completely different. So okay, so finding the perfect guy, of course, is streaming all on all digital platforms.
On
I would say
26
26.
platforms.
That's all 26 platform, right? Amazon,
26.
Tubi,
Apple
Apple
TV,
TV.
Plex. I'm over in Africa. I'm in India. I'm in the UK. My film has been turned into 11 languages.
Look at that.
hmm when I did the film, I did not have distribution at that time, and
But you had relationships.
I had relationships. I had relationships, and again, remember I told you I believe in going big, one,
Mm-hmm.
and then I believe in putting yourself where you see yourself, right? And so I wanted to see myself on the big screen next to the Black Panthers and next to all of these big films. And so I booked Studio Movie Girl in Marietta, booked the biggest room, sold out in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And Les Brown, all these executives came out from BET and all these places came out to see the film and everything. And I got this big write up, and from there, I ended up getting 7 distribution offers. Signed with one, and because most of them were saying, they could get me on Tubi, they could get me on like 2 or 3 platforms.
Mm.
Um, so this one was like, the sky's the limit, and I'm like, okay, bet. So that's the one I
Yeah,
went
let's
with,
do it.
right? And I'm 26 platforms later. It's been out now for a year. Um, and I initially I almost didn't put it out because I mean it was hard. I mean, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
sit here and act like putting out a film is easy. Like, it is hard, and you have to have the right people. You have to make sure that your film is completely right in all aspects. And so there were some things that made me stop in my tracks for a second, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm just not gonna put this out. But if you don't put it out, then no one will get to see you. No
Mhm.
one will know what you can do. You're still just a talk. Hey, I'm a writer, I'm a director, but no one's seeing
Right.
your
Nobody's
work.
seeing
So
it.
you got to put your work out there.
Mhm.
Is finding the perfect guy my top seller in life going to be? No, that's just my beginning.
Mhm.
That's where I started. I'm super proud of it, and the next ones are going to be on a whole new level. Each time it's going to
You can
get
only
better
get
and better.
better,
Yeah,
better and better,
each time
right?
it's going to get better and better. So I'm really excited that I still put it out there and took that leap of faith. And the thing is, you don't have to have all the answers. You just got to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you.
Mm. That's facts right
That's
there, y'all.
facts.
You don't have to be the smartest person
No.
in the room. You just have to surround, and that is the mark of a true leader,
Yeah.
right? And so leaders surround themselves with people who are smarter than them.
Yeah.
And so you don't always have to be the smart person. So for those people who are like, well, I got to be the one. You don't have to be,
Yeah.
because it takes a village
Yeah, it does.
to actually move things, especially at that level,
Yeah.
and to execute effectively at that level.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to audition. As soon
You
as I
can
see him,
definitely
as
audition.
soon as I see him, I put my headshot in like, let's go. I'm ready to be in the film, right? So, okay, so I want to talk about a whole bunch of things, but one that I think is probably near and dear to me is Artist Rock the Mic Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what was your meaning behind starting that organization? What's in that foundation? What's I'm very interested in that, because
Yeah.
and here's why. Because there was a time in my life where we were homeless.
Mm.
And so now, as we have gone through that phase in our life, it has given us a certain affinity
Yeah.
for others who find themselves in that same predicament.
Yeah.
So,
Definitely. I was performing at a show here in Atlanta, and there was a lady standing outside. She was asking for money, and she told me that she was homeless. She goes to Kennesaw State, and I'm like, um, so you're in college? And she
yeah.
said, yeah. She said, I go to Kennesaw State. She has a scholarship. So now I'm completely baffled, because I'm like, how are you in college with a scholarship? She's making straight A's at that. But the college pays for, there's an academic scholarship and there's an athletic scholarship,
Mhm.
right? And so it paid for her room and board, but it didn't cover her food.
Mm.
Um, did it cover her room? No, it didn't cover her room. It covered her tuition, but it didn't cover her room
Room
and
and
board.
board.
That's what
Yeah.
it was. Sorry. And I was so intrigued because I'm like, how are you able to maintain your
Yeah.
grades? And what are you doing? So she told me that she was couch hopping. She was going dorm to dorm, and she was sleeping in her car at times. She was eating out of the cafeterias. Trash. They ended
Mm.
up putting a lock on the trash can and had a paper bag with food and said, "Please stop eating out of here because you can get sick."
Yeah.
And
Sure.
she would go into the locker rooms at the school and take her showers and stuff. And I was just like, wow. And then I came to find out that they had a whole program, the CARE. I forgot what CARE stands for, but the CARE system in Kennesaw State. And at that time, they had 1,100 students that was homeless. And so,
What?
yes,
1,100
1,100
students?
students, which completely
That is mind
threw
blowing
me
right
off.
there.
Right. Right.
Because you wouldn't expect college students to be homeless.
Right.
That's like being in the military and being homeless.
Yeah.
I guess, right? Because if you're in college, I guess there's supposed to be room and board that's
Right.
included,
Right.
because you're paying $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. So
Right.
I'm assuming room and board is included in that.
Yeah.
1,100?
Yep. 1,100. And so, I was already doing concerts anyway. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do with what I have? And so I'm already doing concerts. I already go to open mics, and me and my friends, we just get up there just for the fun of it and sing a
Hmm.
song or two. Next person come up, and that's sorry, that's our way of just having fun. And so I started Artist Rock the Mic. Mike, MIC, stands for Motivating Individuals in the Community,
Mm.
and got my 501c3. Started throwing concerts featuring indie artists and national recording artists. And so we used to do all of these concerts. And the very first one I had Cat Cat Dog from the Steve Harvey Morning Show.
Mm-hmm.
He's a part of my board, and I had some other people that's a part of my board. And so we would throw these concerts and gave the funding to Kennesaw State. And then what started happening is each time we would do a different theme. So we would collect shoes, we would collect coats. We at one event we sent over 500 pair of coats.
Wow.
And then what started happening is other organizations start contacting us. So
Mm-hmm.
I honor your service to America. They contacted us, and so we did the concert. We would give the door to Kennesaw State, and then we would collect items. So for that one, the theme was like the care packages and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And then we worked with I Will Survive, and we gave them music, we gave them gift cards to get back and forth to their chemo, and we get them scarves and stuff for their
Mm-hmm.
heads. We worked with this blanket company who donated the blankets to the people not just on the street, but the people that was under the bridges and
Mm.
stuff like that. So we just started partnering with all these different people. We would always give the door to Kennesaw State. We even
Mm-hmm.
did Flint, Michigan, when we sent over 6,000 water bottles to Flint,
Wow.
Michigan. So we've done a lot. We sent 80 pair of shoes over to Haiti. Um, yeah, we've,
Wow.
but that's initially how it started.
Yeah. You just wouldn't think that a college student would be homeless.
Right.
That's very interesting. Homeless college students, but it exists.
And it's a lot of different colleges that have them.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate question is how many in all the colleges that exist around the country, what is their homeless population?
Right.
And then how do they and so I mean you don't have to divulge it, of course. Um, but I am interested, uh, if you're willing to share it, how does Kennesaw State use that money in or whatever those um, items are in helping those individuals who are homeless?
Right. Well, what they ended up getting a building. And so they're housing them in this building off campus. And they have downstairs a place where they can get clothes that's been donated and stuff like that, and food that's been donated. So that's where the money goes.
Wow.
Hmm.
Can we just give her an applause for a heart for yes. Mhm. Yeah. Because we can we can do music and film and put all these things out there and but I think it's those philanthropic type of things that really leave a legacy, that
Yeah.
leave an impact. Right? People can know, oh, they did a great song, they had a great album, they had a great film, but I think people really will remember a person, and in this case, you specifically, for the heart that you have for those college students. That one interaction
Right.
has led to the founding of an organization that impacts so many people. And that right there is, I find that to be a tremendous blessing.
Thank
So,
you. We started that in 2014, so it's been going strong for
wow.
a good little minute now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Thank
So
you.
I absolutely applaud you for that, for sure. So okay, so can we go back? I got a question about BBR Media.
Okay.
How much that film cost?
Oh.
Oh, oh man, I
um.
gotta know because I'm trying. I got a budget.
Well, it was under 65.
6,500.
No. It was under 65 paid out of pocket. Right.
Paid out of pocket.
Yeah, that was because like I couldn't get any investors. People's like, yeah, I've seen you in music. I'll support you in music because I know what you do for music. I've never seen you write a film. So it was like, come to me for the second one. now now that the film is out and people see, what I'm doing and all this type of stuff, people like, yeah, we want to support you on the next one. But I couldn't get anybody to help me, and I hang with a couple of people that got a lot
They
of
got some
money.
bank, right? They
Yeah,
got some bank, and they're like, I don't know about that.
yeah, they was like,
Let's see what you do first. But I think that's what people do, right?
Yeah.
They go, let me see the proof.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, let me see something
Yeah.
before before I bankroll the whole thing.
yeah. And I understand
it.
that because, like, what's my return of the interest going to be? Like, what is it going to be?
They got to know what that
Right.
return of investment is going to be.
Right.
They're like, I need I need to know what that is. I'm giving you 100,000. Am I gonna make any of it back?
Right.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes you got to get those angel investors.
Yeah.
That's right. Transparency talks. Started during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And I think COVID became the catalyst for podcasts.
Yeah, it did.
It did.
It did. It put it on the map.
It put podcasts on the map.
Mhm.
I got a podcast. Everybody got a podcast, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a voice. I don't knock it, right? I think we should have these mediums of communication where people share their thoughts and ideas and experiences, and or if they want to talk about other stuff, they have the freedom to do that because it's their platform. Kind of talk about transparency talks, your model behind it, and its trajectory.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I started it during COVID. It was literally just something to do. It really, it really was. And
I need to
then,
do something. I'm gonna start this.
right. And so I'm interviewing, a lot of my friends from the music industry. But I already had, because I toured so much overseas, a good strong fan base. And so Italy contacted me first. So City to Beat, they contacted me first and offered me a deal. Then I got offered a deal over in London, and I was like, "Oh snap!" We starting to do it
in London,
right? And then just other stations started contacting me and everything, and I was like, "Okay, this is actually a job." And so I had to. I feature indie music artists. I'm indie all day, so I feature
Indie Unplugged, ladies.
Right.
That's why we do it.
Right. I feature music artists. And I run different ads, in the thing. I go live on Facebook and on YouTube. What was crazy was because I started having to do, because now, I had to do it more consistently. Initially, it was just when I felt like doing it, but now I had to become consistent, and then I had to become consistent on what my topics were going to be. So now I only interview people from the music and film industry, which are both my interests and things that I do anyway. So it makes it easy for me. But with that, it became a little hard to be able to do it at first. I'm sorry, I just lost my train. It became a little hard at first to get it together. But when I started getting all of the phone calls from the different companies and everything, it was like, okay, you gotta do this, and it has to be consistent. And it just turned into its own little thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I think people think podcasting is easy, but it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
I had to move my account because everything was coming up under Butta, and Butta is the artist, right? And I was doing so many shows that I had to move it over and create its own page. Well, it doesn't let you take all your people, and I didn't know that.
I don't know
So
why.
it looked like I don't have nobody.
It don't. I'm like,
And then I'm like, I don't have the time to grow this extra page, And then for me, it's like I have that. I have my film. I have my podcast. I have my books. I have me being an artist. I have all these different ones. And then even with your books, you can't have them on just one page and stuff like that. I have BBR Indie Films, and I have all these things. And so you're trying to manage all of this stuff on your own. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a lot. So it's been
mm-hmm.
hard for me to try to grow my YouTube because I didn't know that once I moved it over, it wasn't gonna move the people over.
Mm.
So it literally starts you at zero.
At zero.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand why the platforms
It
do that.
doesn't
They
make
should
sense
allow you
because
to
it's on
transition
YouTube.
it.
Yeah, I, all the people should transition over.
They should.
To me, yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, it made it a little harder for me.
Yeah. So it was like, she got nobody on no listenership.
Yeah.
No, she does.
I do. I absolutely do.
Just the fact of how they operate.
In fact, I have over 1.2 million listeners.
See?
Yeah. But the page does not reflect that.
Right.
But it's all good.
But that's dope though.
Yeah.
At 1.2 million listeners.
Yeah.
That's the we coming from them numbers like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple more questions.
Okay.
And so she's been saying it over and over and over and over again, right? International recording artist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who is Butta B Rocka as an international recording artist?
Oh man, I go overseas. You would think I'm freaking Rihanna or Beyonce. People be having signs up, fainting when I touch them, and when I say hi. And, it's crazy because they appreciate music. You know what I mean? It's not about your status. It's just about the love of the arts and stuff. And so, yeah, I get a lot of love overseas for sure.
Mm-hmm. So, where would you say? So, let me go back. How do you describe yourself as an artist? What makes Butta B Rocka Butta B Rocka?
I'm just myself, if I'm being very transparent. My style is more I would say pop, soft rockish more than anything, hence the Rocka part of my name. I mean, I throw R&B in there, but I'm not just a soulful R&B singer. Because I toured so much overseas and I started working on my album while I was overseas, I picked up different sounds and I like different things, And so I don't believe that you have to put someone in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And so the first album is called Switch Lanes intentionally because I switch genres. I go in and out because, that's what I like. And I'm going to sing what I like. I'm going to put out what I like. I'm going to do me. And so, it's just a little piece of me in there. And so now I'm transitioning again where this next project is going to be a contemporary gospel, and it's pop. It's kind of like a pop soft rockish Butta B Rocka gospel.
Butta B Rocka gospel.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about it.
What makes you excited about it?
One, because for a good minute I had ran away from God and from church and stuff.
Oh, we all have.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, and I was at church one day, and there was a guest pastor that came, and he was like, people are hypocrites. One day they're in church, the next day they're at the club, and I was like, oh, he talking to me.
He's talking to everybody, right?
And I felt convicted. I felt bad, and so I kind of like stopped singing in the choir. Kind of like I just got on the road. I just went on the road, and I just would come every once in a while to church when I came in town and stuff like that. And but I know that that's the reason why I did it, and everything. And so it was just like one day I was walking in my neighborhood, just doing a regular walk, and as plain as me and you talking, it was like God was like, "When you gonna stop running?" And I was like, "What?" And so I had to realize that just because I sing R&B, I sing pop, and I sing at clubs, and private events and everything. It doesn't mean that I don't have a great soul and that I
Right.
can't share how I feel about God or my God or however you want to
Hmm.
announce them and stuff. And so yeah, I'm working on my very first project, and it's definitely all me.
Hmm. That's the thing, right? Is being lukewarm,
Yeah,
right? And saying, okay, am I going to be in the church or out of the church? And can I do both?
yeah,
Right. And that's kind of the dichotomy is if you're in church, you can't do things outside of church.
right.
And if you're outside of church, you can't do things in the church.
Yeah,
Right. And I don't personally think that's true. And I think one of the things that opened my eyes to it was a book called Music Through the Eyes of Faith. It's a great book, right? And it talked about being a Christian and you know being out in the secularism and just understanding the real purpose of music and
right,
God's purpose for His people. And it was just a real eye opener to say, um, if you're gonna do music, I mean, do music, right? I mean, there's certain music I'm not gonna do. I'm not
right,
right. I'm not. Yeah, that's just not gonna happen. Because I do have certain levels of morality that I don't like to cross.
right.
But but so and so let me ask you this: how do you see music from an international perspective versus a domestic perspective?
Domestically, it's one sided. Like everything is almost the same ish, and that's like the norm. Like they want you to sound the same, look the same, that type of stuff. Internationally is very colorful.
Mm,
there's different vibes, and music in whole is just more accepted. They like different genres, they like different styles, they like you bringing something different to the table.
mm,
But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes you can turn on the radio and almost everybody sound alike, and the sounds are the same, and the looks are the same, and everything. And again, ain't nothing wrong with it, but where's your who are you within that?
mm,
Because I'm not seeing you. I'm seeing the industry
mm,
of what the industry wants you to be, but who are you? You know.
mm. And I think when I talk to independent artists and creatives, that's probably my first question: is
Hmm.
who are you? Like, what do you stand for? How would you describe yourself? Right? Like for you, and for an example, Butta B Rocka, right? Like, where did that come from?
Mm. So, Butter came from when I used to live in Tampa. They said I was very soft spoken, and my voice was smooth like butter. And then when I started going into the studio with TLC, they started calling me B Rocka. And so when I put my first album out, I've heard of a lot of butters, throughout, and mostly butters are rappers, guys, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I combined the two because Butter be rocking.
Butta B Rocka.
Right.
That's right. So, with such a diverse career, what's next for Butta B Rocka?
Mm. So now, since I did my film at Studio Movie Girl, I started my own film festival, BBR Indie Films, and so I highlight other short indie filmmakers, and I bring out people from the industry. It's now gotten to the point where networks are contacting me, distribution companies are
Mm,
contacting me to come and be panelists at my event. It's now gotten to the point, and we've had 5. We're now going on to the 6th, but it's gotten to the point where we've sold out all 5. We
wow.
have now, for the 6th one, are moving into a bigger room, which scares me a little bit. But you gotta, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not thinking big enough.
That's right.
So we've moved into a bigger room, um, and I'm expecting to sell this one out like we always
Hmm.
do, because we've gotten to the point where we started having to turn people away, and we had a medium sized room, so now it's just time to move on up, and I see that continuing to grow. I believe that if you are in a position to help others, help. And so I know a lot of people in the music industry and in the film industry. Why not bring these people out to give us indie
Mm-hmm.
filmmakers the tips and points that we need to help us excel in this industry. I mean, it's harder for us, you know. We don't have the backing, we don't have the funds, we don't have the notoriety that the majors have, you know. And
Sure.
so if I can make it a little bit easier for somebody and bring out some of my friends that don't mind sharing and giving you some tips, you know, to help you along the way. We bring out investors. We bring out a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
people. You know, it's cool to bring out the actors. That's fine because that's somebody that you recognize. But I make sure that I bring out people that's behind the scenes. So I bring out the investors, the attorneys that's going to tell you what you need to have in and on these contracts. We bring out the networks that's going to tell you, you know, when you're pitching to us, this is what you need to do. This is what we're looking for. We bring out the investors to say, hey, when you send that pitch deck or when you send me that project, don't send me 100 pages because I'm only gonna look at 7. I'm only gonna look at 21. You know, they tell you exactly what they're looking for, and that tends to help. You know, because then when you are now as you're working on your project, you now have some further
Mm-hmm.
tools. You know, and everything. And I always bring out someone from the music industry, which is very important to me because music first, because music is a big part of films. So I'm always
That's
going to
right.
tie the two
That's
together
right.
with everything that I'm doing. So I'm really, really excited about BBR Indie Films. It's growing. It's surpassing what I dreamed in my mind, and I know that it's going to get just bigger and bigger
Mm-hmm.
each time. Eventually, it's going to be an international film festival.
Mm.
Like it is definitely moving that way. It's going to be Think Sundance for indie films that I'm going to
Wow.
be over.
Wow.
So I
That's
already have some places that I'm looking at. I'm looking at doing it in either Africa, in Nigeria,
mm-hmm.
particularly, or in Bahamas. So I'm
Wow.
trying to decide which one I'm going to do it at.
Wow.
But
I've never
it's
been to Africa. I've never been to the Bahamas either. Never been to Africa, but I'm sure they're beautiful.
They are both are definitely beautiful. But yeah, so I'm in the process of talking to a couple of people that are now interested in getting on board and stuff like that. But yeah, it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
It's growing big time, really
When's the
quickly.
When's the next one?
The next one is September 25th at Studio Movie Grill. The tickets are
Wow.
available
I'm
right
gonna write that
now.
down
Yes, please write it down.
because
You
your
can
boy's
go
gonna be
to,
there.
please do.
Oh yeah.
You can go to BBR Indie Films and Indie INDIE Films with an S. .com, or you can go to bbrmediagroup.com to get the tickets. Of course, it's on all of my social medias under Butta B Rocka or under BBR Indie Films. Um, yeah, it's definitely gonna be a time, and don't wait till the last minute.
Don't wait.
Like
Come
that
on,
does not
Atlanta.
work.
Come on, Atlanta. Don't wait till the last minute. Right? Getting tickets today.
Right. Don't
Today.
wait till the last minute.
That's right. Good stuff. Good
Yeah.
stuff. Anything that I missed?
Man, we talked about a lot. I mean, I know I'm doing a whole lot of stuff, but it's really not a lot. Like it feels like a lot. It
No, it's a
sounds
lie.
like a lot,
It's a lie.
but they don't say that to the Steve Harveys and
That's true.
right. It's not a lot. I'm just doing
I
my
guess.
purpose.
I don't know what they're telling Steve Harvey. Cause, well, let me.
I mean, people can do
They,
more than one thing,
oh yeah, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
they back in the day, they used to put you in this little box and you only supposed
You
to do
only do
music.
this.
Right. But you can do several things. It's not like I'm doing them all at the same time, but I'm always going to incorporate any of my businesses together. So, for example, any of the panelists, naturally I'm going to feature on my podcast. Makes sense.
Gonna make sense.
I'm going to cross promote all of my stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So, yeah, it's been an amazing journey. And even the different actors that's on the panel, of course I'm looking at them for my upcoming films. Absolutely.
That only makes sense. Trust me, it only makes sense. I do the same thing.
Right.
It's like, oh, when I'm about to have a panel, yeah.
Right. I know who I'm calling.
Like, so we just did this 5-series episode or series on sync licensing. And so that's why I had Jay Nolan on and London Elixir and some of the other people, Clint Music, that I know. And it's because I had interviewed a bunch of them before.
Right.
And I was like, hey, you want to be a part of this? They were like, yeah, let's do it. And so I took all the film equipment out, all the cameras out. We set it up. in their locations, and for 30, 40 minutes, they talked about sync licensing, walked us through like their biggest sync placement.
Right.
I'm going to, it's a smart thing to do.
It is very smart.
It is a
And
smart
I've
thing to
just
do.
tapped into that industry as well. Initially, I was just writing for myself and for major artists and indie artists, but now I'm tapped in. I'm tapped all the way in. So I've been sending a lot of different songs out, and it's literally just a matter of time before those that door completely opens all the
Mm-hmm.
way up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the smart thing is that when you made the film, you put your music in the film.
Hmm.
So that music is now, all my sync licensing people, they would know on this, but there's royalties on that, right?
Yep.
It's not just, oh, I'm the artist and it's my music. No, no, no. There's royalties that are generated from
Right.
a sync perspective
Right.
on that music being in a film that is now streamed on 26 different platforms
Right.
across the world,
Across
right?
the world.
Across the world. That
I'm
is
now
so awesome.
Thank you. I'm now music supervisor for the Ronaldo Ray documentary story that's coming out, and it's featuring Cat Williams, Sinbad, Marla Gibbs, George Wallace, D.C. Curry, all these
Mm-hmm.
other people. But had I not did the music supervisor for my own project, that door would not have opened for
That's
someone
right.
to say, "Hey, can you do the music and can you get the music for my project?" So that's a whole nother thing that I didn't even see coming, you know?
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing, right? Is that sometimes people don't really realize the things that they're involved in can lead to other
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah.
If people just stay the course and just do what they just naturally do, and or what comes second nature to them,
Right.
or even the dreams that they may have, it leads to other opportunities.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm finding out as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. It,
wonderful journey.
yeah, it's definitely been an amazing journey. I mean, it's like one of those I had blinders on. It was music, 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 music. Had I not injured myself, the books wouldn't have came, the magazine wouldn't have came, the play wouldn't have came,
Mm,
the podcast, the film,
mm,
now film festival. None of that stuff would have came if I would have just stuck with only music and saw myself, I'm only an artist. I'm only an artist. Again, ain't nothing wrong with just being an artist. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you have more desires in you, um, sometimes we are too afraid to just go for it.
mm-hmm,
So, I'm glad that I got pushed and was forced to have to figure it out, you know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Y'all hear that? Sometimes you just have to go. You just have to go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Butta B Rocka, it has been a pleasure,
It has
a
been.
definite pleasure, to have you here on the Indie Unplugged. Thank you very much for sharing your journey, your story, and just those nuggets of wisdom that I'm sure when other people listen back to this, they're gonna go, I'm taking that and I'm running with it.
I hope so. I hope people can definitely take from my story the power of not being afraid to just go after your dreams and get back up,
That's right.
because I've definitely got knocked down plenty of times. I
Mm,
mean, plenty.
mm,
But it's how do you finish?
mm-hmm. It is how you finish.
Yeah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, it's how we finish this this talk together. Um, thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Butta B Rocka, for being here as well. And thank you for those who will be watching and taking all this information in and being part of the We Create Music TV family. Make sure you visit the website. Of course, right? There's all types of things that are up there, master classes and tutorials and series that we provide and interviews and podcasts. Y'all know the deal. If you haven't watched it, go to the website today, wecreatemusic.tv, where you can catch all the episodes of the Indie Unplugged. And this one that will be coming out soon with Butta B Rocka. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Peace out.
Peace.